What is one country that you will never visit again? Egypt. As Untitled said, Cairo looks like, is, a war zone. Turrets on street corners, tanks, soldiers with automatic weapons everywhere. We had an armed police officer on the tour bus, Rhodes Scholar, and nothing against them. They are a great company to travel with, a police escort everywhere, bomb dogs and a guy with a mirror looking under the bus for bombs. Cairo is dirty, littered and the poverty is staggering. The food was met best as we could not travel outside the hotel or tour path to eat. It was blisteringly hot. The camel guys at the pyramids were mean to all of the women and the animals, with children working there as well. The Egyptian museum was a disgrace to the county. Poorly organized, bad labels, no security, priceless textiles, parchments, leather, etc. jumbled in cases exposed to the air, heat, hands, no AC. The only things well cared for and secured were Tutankhamun's artifacts. It's a spectacular resource and collection and so badly cared for with no curation. The new one just opened. I sure hope it's better. Once you've seen one temple, one hieroglyphic, you've truly seen them all. It's all about tourist $sign and the street vendors were relentless and scary. Even on a nice open boat ride down the Nile, kids paddled up to the boat on wooden doors, selling cheap crap or just begging. Never again. We had the same thought when we left the Egyptian museum. I was stunned. No offense but frick the Bahamas. It's a tourist trap and not a very good one at that. More like a third world country trying to play at capitalism. I finally see my country, but honestly, that depends on which island you go to. There's a different experience on each island. Our number one industry is tourism and the government here literally puts its own citizens at a disadvantage to make tourists more comfortable. Egypt. I visited Sharm el-Sheikh back in 2015. The hotel area was amazing. I vaguely remember it being called the Baron, and you felt like a king there. But that was it. As soon as you leave the hotel area, you feel like you're in a war zone. Trash everywhere, barely laid roads, nothing to go look at outside of the hotel apart from stuff they sold to you as a day trip, snorkeling, camel riding, going out in the desert with a quad bike. It did not feel right to be there. Every time I went to buy water in a shop, the price would go up each day. They would tell you a price, many times 2 or 3 times the price you paid the day before and you'd need to haggle them down. I ended up saying that I'd pay a certain amount and not more. When they said no, I'd leave the shop and they'd come chasing after me, saying okay, we can do XX. It was stressful to be there. If I wanted to enjoy myself, I'd stick to my hotel room, the pool or the beach and ignore the people trying to sell me stuff on the beach. I was the only one in the group of 5 people who didn't enjoy it, but I don't see the joy in having to haggle my way through the day and having seen everything after the second day. I think that's one thing that would make me lose interest in visiting a place immediately, the haggling bartering culture. I have no interest in negotiating every time I want to buy something. Going to go with the crowd here and agree that I wouldn't go to Egypt again. I absolutely love ancient Egypt, but I still wouldn't go back. I went when I was 15 as part of a school trip. Imagine 25 high school students and 4 chaperones, none of whom speak the language, with one guide dedicated to taking us on our entire 11-day trip. There was definitely the bartering talk for some of the girls in the group, which we were told were just jokes and compliments from the locals. There were cons. One student got on a camel at the pyramids for X amount, but once he was up there the guide wouldn't let him down until he paid twice that. Camels are freaking tall, so it's not like he could easily safely climb or jump down. There were groups of kids in a lot of the markets who would offer beads or other small bits of touristy crap for free. Somehow several of the people in my group who took those beads ended up losing their wallets in the same market. That's a real head scratcher. Cairo itself was unfortunately disgusting. The streets and canals are filled with trash, and not just normal city trash. There was more than one beast of burden left in a ditch to rot. We were told not to drink the water. Even brushing our teeth we were told to use bottled water, and to use hand sanitizer after washing our hands. On the trains the bathrooms don't go to a holding tank, they just open to the track below, which reminds me of a scene from one of the Mummy movies now that I think of it. On a personal note, when we were at the Sphinx I got separated from the rest of my group. A 15-year-old girl alone in a country where I didn't speak the language. My group had moved ahead in line. They ended up being several hundred meters ahead. I got a bit scared because I searched and couldn't find anyone, and so I approached an armed guard, appeared to be a security type. I had seen them at several other historic monuments too, and asked if he could help get me to my group. On the way to my group he groped me. I was absolutely shocked. This was in broad daylight, amid a crowd of other people. Mind, they weren't looking at us. They were looking at the ancient piles of rocks, not to mention he had a fairly large gun, so that added to the intimidation factor. But I just let it happen because he was at least taking me in the direction I knew my group was. The first person from my group I saw was my, at the time, ex, and holy frick, I had never ever been so glad to see him in my life. I still love the history of Egypt, but I don't think I'll ever actually go back. I am so sorry for you. Just a side note, the guards aren't actually guards, they are mandatory services in the Egyptian military, so some aren't even educated and others are doctors and engineers. Still, I am so sorry that this happened to you. Egypt, but more specifically Cairo. The way they treat women and their own people is honestly heartbreaking and disgusting. I have never wanted to be out of a country so fast in my life. A friend of mine was groped on the bus and a fellow student told her that is what you get for not riding the all-female bus. I never felt safe and I constantly felt sorry for almost everything I saw. The poor, the animals, the women. It honestly was devastating. Came here to sadly say Egypt. I got constantly hassled and physically touched. Kids grabbing you begging for money. Locked in shops. Armed forces and our coaches for our safety. It was stunning, but unsettling. As an Egyptian woman, I want to say, firstly, I am 10,000% sorry for every human being victimized by someone in Egypt. On behalf of Egyptian women everywhere, thank you for sharing your stories. Your stories are our stories. These things happen to us all the time, but the women here are numb to it or condemned for speaking up. We try to communicate with the outside world on the issue of women's rights, rape culture, sexual harassment, but with the spoken and written language barrier, it makes it very difficult to get our stories out. Egypt needs this rude awakening. Tourism will suffer and they cannot afford to have that happen. We need to take responsibility and make some serious changes. I am an Egyptian man and have lived here my whole life, and I have honestly never been so embarrassed in my life to say where I am from. I feel so bad for everyone who dealt with all these disgusting acts when they visited here, and I'm just at a loss for words. Haiti. Went and did medical relief in a field hospital after the earthquake. Recent stuff aside, that country is, and has been fricked. Poor infrastructure. Poor education, no significant industries, no natural resource advantage, corrupt government, polarized political climate, island nation, so all imports are more expensive, poor medical system. Anything a country would need to get a leg up is just non-existent. I'm a pretty positive person and met the loveliest people there, but I've never been more depressed or pessimistic about a place's future. Haiti seems doomed for the economic reasons listed. Egypt for sure. Was visiting the pyramids and this girl in front of me almost got raped. Just a bunch of men surrounded her once our guides were at a minimal away distance. Ended up fighting them off with the help of other several tourists. She was with a friend, also a woman, and I ended up spending my whole time with them for the next 4 days. Really enjoyed my time with them, but holy crap. Going out in public was just me doing bodyguard work, which I was not comfortable at, but what choice did I have? Terrible place for women. Disgusting smell. Terrible people overall. Food sucked too, but I'm sure that's highly subjective. This entire thread is very interesting to read, but also makes me sad at how awful some places mentioned here are. If people can't stand visiting, imagine living there and not being able to leave. Oof. Imagine being a female in Egypt. I'd get the frick out of there and let those buttholes enjoy their sausage party. Had to stop reading this thread because it's making my travel dreams into nightmares. Always thought Egypt would be a pretty rad place to visit later in life, but after everything I've read here I might just revise that opinion, lol. Haiti. Went on a medical mission. One day was spent at the beach. We got caught in the middle of a protest. I was groped. Several other people were punched. It was terrifying. They only stopped when one of our translators yelled that we were medical workers. We only ended up spending 1 hour at the beach so we wouldn't end up driving back through the same area at night. When we reached that area it was clear of people. A few overturned vehicles were on fire. A UN detail was hanging out in a big armored vehicle with a very large gun on top. I can't imagine how awful it must be now with all of the civil unrest. Syria. I went before the civil war and it was honestly one of the loveliest places I've ever been, with super nice friendly people. Add to that the food is amazing. It would break my heart to see some of the places now. Yay, my country of Mongolia is not on here, or maybe because not many people go there to begin with. I've gone for a month and would go back again. The city was nice but I do remember being mistaken as Russian a few times which caused issues with some of the drunks. Locals were mostly nice as long as you didn't go to the clubs at night. 100% would go back to see the friends I made over there given the chance. South Africa. Some random truck rolled up outside of our hotel and got in a shootout for no apparent reason. I walked out after the shooting to see around 7 people dead or at least injured including our tour guide. My friend was told by the hotel management not to leave the hotel grounds for the duration of his stay. They'd wait at the gates of the hotel for the tourists to come out. Ridiculous. At the rate it's going. South Africa. Backpacked around in 2009, from Cape Town to Joburg, and just loved it. Legit my favorite country I traveled in, because it is so diverse in nature, people, just about every way. But as things get more dangerous, I'm just not sure if I'll ever get back there. Seeing footage of the riots right now breaks my heart. If anyone from South Africa is reading this, BTW, I wish you all the best and hope you stay safe. My wife is from Johannesburg and we visited in 2017 and it was the best trip I have ever been on and so beautiful, but man we had so many sketchy situations with people blocking off roads with stuff on fire and just really intense interactions. Egypt seems to be mentioned a bunch so far and I'd like to plus 100 that. I've traveled to over 15 countries and Egypt was the first that came to mind when I saw the title. A nice man sitting next to me on a bus to Cairo had the crap kicked out of him by police at the Suez Canal checkpoint. They literally were punching him in the face as hard as they could while he was in the chair next to me begging them to stop until they dragged him off never to be seen again probably. Like people are bashing Morocco because of beggars or annoying negotiating tactics. But in Morocco I at least never once feared for my safety or the safety of my group once while in Morocco. You can travel that country relatively freely and have a decent enough time if you go to the right spots and have a meh time if you go to the wrong ones. Egypt crosses a totally different line, especially given the fact it is still considered somewhat a tourist destination and not lumped in with Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. I'd definitely say it should be widely considered and grouped closer to Afghanistan or Syria than say Israel or Turkey. The pyramids area was absolutely disgusting. So many people there to frick you. Mistreated camels, little children crawling through garbage piles. If you are a woman or have a woman in your group then holy frick it's even worse. It is impossible to stay out past sunset as the danger and sketch levels go to 100. And I'm not just being sensitive. People assault and harass women, they'll berate you etc. I was so lucky I looked Egyptian, according to them while I was there and it still didn't help much. Frick Egypt man. My good friend is Egyptian. Amazing history. Some great people for sure. But frick that place. And he agrees 100%. Especially since he's a Coptic Christian. 2 good things there. 1. Great swimming and chilling on the Sinai. Went to Burswa near Israel and it was not bad at all. 2. Some of the museums were pretty freaking cool. Jamaica. Went for a chill vacation with my, then, college girlfriend and were very turned off by being asked if we wanted to buy weed every 20 steps. Despite popular misconceptions, weed was quite illegal in Jamaica at the time. I smoked at home in the US occasionally, but wasn't into it this trip and didn't want to risk getting arrested in a foreign country. 3 days in and they're wearing us down, so we consider buying a joint. That same day, a tour guide on our river tour warns us without prompting that dudes will sell you weed and then cross the street to tell the cops, for an informant fee, that you've got weed, after which you get tossed in Jamaican jail and have to bribe your way out. Also, the food was meh. Regarding the Caribbean, I've had very positive experiences in both Antigua and Barbados if anyone is looking for alternatives. Qatar. I worked there for 15 months. Appalling treatment of workers. Very hot. Terrible food, and the whole country is a building site getting ready for the World Cup next year. After that the country will be empty. Nothing to do apart from work and shopping. I won't visit my own country if I could of it. Iran. I work with 2 guys from Iran. One left as a refugee when a teenager, the other grew up there, had a child there, then left. That family still go back for holidays. His wife more than him because he doesn't have enough holidays to spend as much time there as her. Obviously the one that fled has never been back. It's fascinating how different the two of them talk about their country. Egypt. Nice place. Some great things to see, but the fricking street vendors are just horrible bastards. Pounce on you as soon as you get off the coach, trying to put crap on you. Some sucker literally tried to take the wallet out of my shorts pocket. Not pickpocketing. Brazen with me stood looking at him. I lost my crap at this point and was quickly surrounded by about 10 of the suckers. I fancied my chances, to be honest, but not fricking worth getting stabbed or getting locked up in a crap hole jail. Okay, I've struck Egypt from my list. The sheer number of posts here about relentless, brazen sexual harassment and assault is kind of distressing. I remember being harassed as a 10-year-old by the vendors. My parents, who were also being harassed, had to fight theirs off to come and save me. It isn't a place for children, adults or anybody of sound mind. If you want to see the pyramids, Google them. Probably and unfortunately my parents' birth country, Afghanistan. I've been there 3 times for a long duration and the country keeps deteriorating. The ethnic Hazara minority already were not safe purely due to their race and religion. The Hazaras mainly are Shia, while the ones who are killing them, the Taliban, claiming to be Sunni. But now the Taliban is also attacking the ethnic group my family is a part of, Tajiks, purely due to our race and disregard for Pashtunwali. It's depressing, but I probably won't return to Afghanistan in my life. Venezuela. I visited my extended family there, near Caracas, as a young child and had an amazing time. But things there have really gone south since then. Pretty much all my family members that were there have left for obvious reasons. Jamaica. Everyone thinks that you owe them a tip for something, or runs up and puts a necklace on your sew and expects money immediately. Unless you're just into getting pumped for money by locals and worrying about being robbed, don't go there. Jamaica. Maybe it was the place I was at. Montego. Everything was overpriced and they wanted to nickel and dime you for everything. People there didn't seem friendly. Walking around the streets in broad daylight did not feel safe. This coming from a minority who still lives in the bad neighborhood in Houston. Not interested. Honestly, my best experience there was the Indian shop owners. Moldova. Never again. Was attacked and robbed by smelly gopniks onto the bus and I really think the driver was in on it. It's all Andrei's fault. Reading through these makes me feel like the world is heading the wrong way. What are some places that used to be bad but are now good? The former Yugoslavia countries, Bosnia, Croatia, etc. spring to mind. Vietnam and Cambodia too. Haiti. I went there as one of the stops on a cruise ship, including Jamaica, Mexico and another stop which I forgot. Haiti's stop was an all-you-can-eat excursion on the beach. Sounded nice until we got there and the townspeople were separated from us by a fence begging for food. As an innocent 16-year-old at the time, I went to the fence with food to give them and I was presented with a gun pointed at me by the National Guardsman. I'd care if it was army, police etc, but I just calling it National Guardsman lol, but he the gun pointed and screamed at me like a sergeant to get away from the fence. I put all the food down on the table and my family and I went back on the cruise ship. Who can eat in front of people begging you for food? My grandpa's answer was the Soviet Union, and then he cracked up laughing. My dad said West Germany. Big dad joke energy in your house. I liked Switzerland, but it was really, really expensive. Beautiful, but the most expensive country I visited. I'm not going to avoid it, but it's not the top on my list to visit again. A coworker and I had to go to Switzerland to approve some industrial equipment. The first night we split a pizza and 2 beers each and it was almost $100. Shoot's crazy expensive there. Iran. I'm half Iranian, but I was born and raised in Europe. I went a few times between 10 and 13 years old, and the last time I went, I started feeling the weight of being a woman. I was hanging out with my aunt in the capital. I turned my head around and my scarf fell off. I had full sleeve coverage in the middle of the summer. Immediately, the Morocco police circled us and asked why my head was uncovered. My aunt told them off, but that really stayed with me. It was over 15 years ago, and I can't imagine my grown adult self fearing the police because my headscarf won't stay in place. I do miss my family and I have amazing memories of visiting the historical sites, but I refuse to suppress my womanhood and self in order to be there. Hi fellow half Iranian, ETA. Thank you for this BTW. I've got NCLC with my Iranian family, and they used to want me to visit. I always had a feeling it would make me miserable, and this just confirms it. Morocco. So much harassment on the street. It was equal parts frightening, annoying and exhausting. I tried to cover up and blend in, but was propositioned by males from 7 to 77 years old, and I consider myself a completely average looking woman. Throw in a bout of food poisoning and I really don't need to go back there. Yes, it's beautiful, but I'll just keep on appreciating that beauty in photos and videos, not in person. Egypt. Dirty. Full of people trying to con you. They straight up hate women. Flies that are bigger than onions. See also, Morocco and Tunisia. Tunisia gets bonus points for every bit of food making me ill. Flies that are bigger than onions. I can say with absolute certainty that I have never heard that combination of words in that order. Laos. My family is from there. My mom's side is problematic. Abuse of all kinds. Narcissism, etc. My dad's side went through my bags and luggage trying to steal stuff. I am sad because I'm a first generation Asian American and I have no family in the States either that I can count on. I have no family in my immediate family. Everything is dysfunctional. This went down a weird road. Sorry. Sabadi. This was a sad read, as I loved Laos. Given what you said, I get where you're coming from. Monaco. Wasn't that interesting? The buildings are really ugly for how rich it is. The views are pretty though, so I'd recommend the bus from Nice. Monaco is worth one afternoon of your life and no more. South Africa. Someone tried to stab me over 10 rand, about $3 at the time. I had stuff stolen from me constantly, and a guy almost hit me in a stolen car. A guy chased me into the street where I almost got hit by a car just for some food. I hate having to constantly watch my back every time I step outside. I may go back to visit Cape Town someday, but never back to Johannesburg. My friend and I used to constantly check our books on Egypt in elementary school, talking about how we'll go there one day and be archaeologists. This thread just crumbled all those childhood memories into dust. Haiti. It was 2008 and I was around 10 years old. I was coerced into coming. My mother promised me resorts, water parks, and lots of fun time with family. None of that came to pass. What I got in Haiti was a double dose of humility with a side order of gratitude. I was born into poverty in Brooklyn, New York, but going to Haiti gave me a new reference point for poverty. I realized my poverty in East New York was considered a luxury in Haiti. I experienced tremendous racism, with many people disliking me just because of my pale skin. I also experienced a lot of kidnap attempts. A guy tried to kidnap me at a beach and my entire family got involved. It was horrible. I slept on the floor, and the leftovers were a delicacy. When I got back, I was extremely grateful to have been born in the US. And even though I was still poor, I had a sense of appreciation that I wasn't born into that extreme level of poverty. It was an eye-opener for sure. I pray for my Haitian brothers and sisters. I was there for 90 days and suffered. Imagine an entire life. I visited a town that was considered the wealthier parts of the island. It quite literally reminded me of Gilligan's Island. Average income was less than $1 a day. This was a good part of Haiti. I'm out. What I gather from scrolling through this thread is that all the countries with horrible reputations are in fact horrible. Dubai. While interesting, it's really just a total ripoff of Western culture. I flew 12 hours from NYC only to be surrounded by Cheesecake Factory, Wendy's, California Pizza Kitchen, etc. No real culture. Their oldest building is from the 70s. Don't go there and expect some culture, I'd say. There are literally buildings in NY older than Dubai itself. There are literally people older than Dubai. Egypt. I went with my cousin's family and I didn't feel comfortable. I dressed modestly and I had people come up to me speaking in Arabic mistaking me for a local, but it was overwhelming due to the rudeness of the locals. However, I've heard outside of Cairo is better. My family wanted to shop for souvenirs at the Kalali SP market and I didn't have a good feeling about it since I have heard about how downright disrespectful the market salespeople can be. I know pesky salespeople are a truth of traveling, but nowhere was as bad as Egypt. In Mexico, many of the salespeople were quite polite and didn't get aggressive like they do in Egypt. I had a man yelling at me in Arabic at that market and I felt so confused and scared. My uncle wanted to take a picture of a French-style building in downtown Cairo and 5 random dudes just surround us yelling in Arabic. Plus, the pyramids were okay. Seeing the camels really bummed me out because I saw guys hitting them with sticks and they looked tired. Jesus Christ. I went to Egypt with my sister and parents about 13 years ago. I was about 15 and my sister 13. I am happy to say I cannot relate to these stories at all. We stayed at a hotel which had a beach at the Red Sea. Diving there was absolutely gorgeous. Went to Cairo to see the pyramids. Astonishing to see them in real life. But even at that age I thought the city was dirty as frick and I felt bad for all the cats and dogs living on the street. Other than that it was perfectly fine. Is this horror show a last couple of years trend or something? Egypt. It was amazing to see all the history and the food was great, but the desperation of ordinary people, especially children, hustling to make money kind of marred it. I know it's super privileged to say that, but it's true. Also, I'm gay and an atheist and honestly, I'd rather go to a country where those things are less likely to get me jailed or worse. South Africa. For sure. I was born in New York in 1982. Mother is South African. Father is American. Our family moved to JHB when I was a few months old. I moved back to the States when I was 26. I got to live through some profound things. End of apartheid, the TRC, Mandela becoming president, but the decline of the society after 96 is heartbreaking. Our house was broken into 3 times. Our neighbors were shot dead. Cousins hijacked multiple times. Family friends' houses being broken into and them being beaten near death for being gay. Taxi shootouts on the highway. Huge levels of rape and assault. Huge percentage of the population with HIV/AIDS. Cash and transit heists in broad daylight with no regard for people nearby. My granny was in a bank when it was robbed. Dudes with AKs hosed the front of the bank, then got shot and tried to flee through the mall the bank is in. My best friend went on a date with a girl and experienced an attempted hijacking. The girl got shot in the leg, hitting the femoral artery. He had to jam his finger into the wound and rush her to the hospital while being chased by the hijackers. Corrupt, inept, and inadequate police force. Armed private security for those who can afford it. Every person in SA has been touched by violent crime. It's an achingly beautiful country with loads of amazing people. If SA can sort itself out, it would be one of the top places to live for sure. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.